Welcome to InChristNow.com, teaching the simple truth as it is in Christ Jesus. The title of this message is Living Inside Out. From the moment Adam sinned, we have been forced to live an external life, or a life that depends on its resource from the outside, the physical world. All these resources are supposed to satisfy the hunger we have on the inside for God, even though they don't and never will. John here prays that we do prosper and be in health, even as our soul prospers, as we come to realize now that our source and sustenance has been changed after we have received the life and nature of God, being now born again of Him. Look at 3 John 1:2 from the King James Version. Beloved, I wish above all things that thou mayest prosper and be in health, even as thy soul prospers. The Bible in Basic English says, My loved one, it is my prayer that you may do well in all things and be healthy in body, even as your soul does well. C.B. Williams says it like this, Dearly beloved, I am praying for you to continue to prosper in everything and to keep well, just as your soul is prospering. This prosperity and health does not come from the external or outside world. No, its source is now from the inside, whereas it receives its communication and effects now that we are born again. This is what we have to learn, to be dependent on and call on as we have need. God is now our source and supply, not the world. When we learn to listen to God with our heart, we receive all that we need once we have believed and it has made its way to our soul, our connection to the outside physical world. You see, we believe with the heart, not the soul or mind. Nowhere in the Bible does it say that we believe with the soul, so it has no divine effects on us. We must learn that the Word travels from the Spirit and is believed on in the heart, and then when it is believed, it will have the necessary effect on our body, the outside world. Our consciousness is changed when and if we have believed. In order to grow as a Christian and experience the Word, we have to believe with the heart, not just agree to the Word with our mind. If we have fallen into mental assent, agreeing with the Word with our soul, or mind and emotions, the Word will never have the divine effect it can and should. Look at Hebrews 4:2 from the Century English Version. It says, We have heard the message just as they did, but they failed to believe what they heard, and the message did not do them any good. Faith comes from our heart. It is out of our inside, living inside out. Activating and keeping the flow of faith is living from the inside out. As we continue, we mature into the Christian people God has always intended for us, but it is our responsibility to live by faith, not according to this world and what we can acquire physically. This is what John meant when he said, even as your soul prospers. As we learn to receive by faith from our heart all that God has given to us, when Christ was raised from the dead, we were placed in a new world, His world, with a new source and supply, His source and supply. Living inside out is simply learning to live now in this new world with this new source. Look at Colossians 1:13. From the New King James Version, it says, He has delivered us from the power of darkness and conveyed us into the kingdom of the Son of His love. An understandable version says, He rescued us from the domain of spiritual darkness and transferred us into the kingdom of the Son whom He loves. C.B. Williams says, It is God who has delivered us out of the dominion of darkness and has transferred us into the kingdom of His dearly loved Son. He has delivered us out of the world in which we can't see and planted us into the world which we can now see. As we adjust our eyes to this new world, we can begin to see the prosperity and healing that was made available by faith to everyone. We are now walking by the things that we don't see and believe in Him who has provided everything for us as we apply the faith needed from our heart into our souls and bodies to make that which is in heaven available on earth. Look at Romans 8:32 from the New King James Version. It says, "He who did not spare his Son, but delivered him up for us all, how shall he not with him also freely give us all things?" An understandable version says, "God did not withhold his own Son from dying, but offered him up for us all. Since he did that, will he not, along with Jesus, freely give us everything else also?" Cressman says, "He did not keep his own Son, but gave him up for us all. Because he has given him to us, will he not also give us all other things?" This faith to receive that which is given to us is a free gift. Nothing is of ourselves. It is all of God as we allow it to be. This is what John was talking about as our soul prospers. As we learn to apply these new rules for us to operate and function in, form this new world, our souls will prosper and we will experience physical prosperity and physical healing. God is not withholding anything from us, as he has already given us everything that we need in this life and the next. We just haven't learned the correct way to appropriate it all, both spiritually and physically. This is what is called living inside out, learning to live the way that God has made us to live and to show the world what he is like as a Father who meets all our needs as we need them. Look at 2 Peter 1 and 3 from the New King James Version. "As his divine power has given to us all things that pertain to life and godliness, through the knowledge of him who called us by glory and virtue." An understandable version says, "God's divine power has given us everything necessary for abundant life and godly living, through the knowledge of him, God, who called us by his own splendor and goodness." The Century English Version says it like this: "We have everything we need to live a life that pleases God. It has all been given to us by God's own power when we learned that he had invited us to share his wonderful goodness. It is the power of God that makes available all that we need. It is the power of the faith of God that gives us his own ability to produce those things on earth as they are in heaven. Once we have learned and have the knowledge we need to function and operate in this new world we have been placed into. They just do not automatically happen when we have to apply the knowledge and faith in order for those things to manifest from God. This means that there is a growth process in this, in degrees, some 30, some 60, and some 100-fold, as we appropriate what we have learned. If it is not working, it is not God's fault, it is our own. We are applying something somewhere in the wrong way and not according to truth. We haven't automatically been born again with the spiritual ability to work everything out perfectly. Remember, we have just become acquainted with God, and it will take more than a lifetime to know him and what he has accomplished in Christ. In any relationship, it will take time to find out things we need to know in order to get along with each other, to learn of each other, and to correctly know what pleases them. This is the nature of growth in any relationship, and God is no different when it comes to this, except he is a lot more forgiving when we make mistakes and applies his grace as we grow into maturity in him. Look at Hebrews 4 and 16 from the New King James Version. It says, "Let us therefore come boldly to the throne of grace, that we may obtain mercy and find grace to help in time of need." An understandable version says, "So with confidence we should approach God's throne of unearned favor, so we can receive mercy and obtain that favor to help us when we need it." C.B. Williams says, "So let us continue coming with courage to the throne of God's unmerited favor, to obtain his mercy and to find his spiritual strength to help us when we need it." This is how we learn to live from the inside out. Think about it. Thank you for listening in. We hope you enjoyed this podcast. We encourage you to visit InChristNow.com for more teachings of the simple truth as it is in Christ Jesus.